Hey there, welcome to Craft Central Designs. Today I'm sharing with you a pretty autumn wall or door decor piece. This one is chocked full of autumn florals and beautiful fall colors. Welcome to all to my channel today, and if you enjoy the content of my tutorial, please give this video a thumbs up. And as always, if you're not currently a subscriber, please consider subscribing and leave me your comments as well. I love receiving them. Okay, this beautiful autumn decor piece has many different types of fall florals included. There is my signature hanger from the piece, which I always include on this piece whenever I use this long, narrow decor piece from Hobby Lobby. That's kind of a signature look I have whenever I create a piece in this container, which, by the way, this is the container. This was a galvanized metal piece from Hobby Lobby. They do still have this piece, and this is like the fourth time I have used this piece and changed the entire arrangement that I placed in it. The reason why it looks the way it does is because it was painted, but I sanded off all of the paint, and now I'm going to do something completely different with it. I'm going to cover it. I'm going to try doing this. I had this idea, if I took this placemat, which is a woven looks like a basket texture. If I wrapped it around this piece, it would look kind of like a basket. Okay, so that was my thought. So, yeah, I did that. Okay, so because I used it before, it already has a lot of floral foam in there. I'm just going to leave it in there. But I am going to cover the back of this piece. Whenever I put a galvanized metal piece or anything on a wall or a door, I always cover the back of it just to prevent any scratching on the door. Now I'm showing you here that piece that I mentioned before. Whenever I make this piece with that long, narrow container, I like to put something on the front. This is just kind of a signature thing that I do. In the past, I've done beautiful floral pieces in this container, and I used a ceramic piece that looks just like that wood piece, and I put floral transfers and welcome letters on it. This time I'm going to put a pumpkin on it. I have a little silk screen stencil there with this beautiful pumpkin, and I'm just going to put a pumpkin on there and hang it from the front of that piece. Now you can do this or not do this. It's up to you. It's just a little something that I like to do. As I mentioned, whenever I create a floral arrangement in this long, narrow galvanized metal piece from Hobby Lobby. So I'm going to be placing just a little bit of that moss in the top of there, and then I'm going to top it off with some Excelsior, because whenever I do a fall arrangement, I often use Excelsior. So I am going to be creating a bow. No shock there. Okay, so I'm going to use this beautiful Robert Stanley open weave burlap ribbon from Hobby Lobby. I got it 40% off. And then this buffalo check, which you've seen me use this before, but it has a pretty rusty color, which is going to go with those beautiful sunflowers that you see in my hand there. I purchased 2 of those. Of course, these are from Hobby Lobby at 40% off in the autumn department. Here's another stem of flowers. It looks to me like baby sunflowers, so I'm going to include that as well in there. These are just some beautiful florals from, again, the Hobby Lobby autumn floral department. And I have there some beefy, like chunky pods and some smaller berries. And I have 2 stems of these, which are going to really fill up that container very well. So it just basically gathered together a lot of my favorite florals. These are dried lotus pods. I really love to include these in a fall arrangement. I'm going to use 2 of those. I also like to include those in a Christmas wreath where I'm placing a lot of pine cones and holly berries. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and prepare my little piece that I'm going to hang from my arrangement. Now, I love these silkscreen stencils. I'm kind of obsessed with them after using regular stencils for so many years and having those little bleeding issues, no matter what kind of tricks I've tried. But I really love these because they stick to the surface of whatever it is you're stenciling on. And you use these little spatulas. I'm using here a really small spatula because I want to cover this small area where the stem of this pumpkin is. This is a very pretty stencil. I want to say I got this on Amazon. If you look on Amazon, you will see a variety of silkscreen stencils, as well as the thick pasty chalk paste that you use to spread over the stencils. So I'm going to go ahead and do this pumpkin. Now, you can't really see very well there, but inside of this pumpkin, there are other little pumpkins and gourds and leaves, and it's just a really pretty little autumn stencil. Now, I'm going to go ahead and cover this stencil with that chalk paste. Now, I ended up later doing some shading over, or just some dry brushing over that pumpkin because I felt it was a little bit too orange here, or it just needed some shading. So I ended up doing that later. But for now, you're just going to see me covering this stencil with my little spatula there, being careful to stay within the lines so I don't encroach on my stem of my pumpkin. And this stencil worked absolutely beautifully. As I said, I'm just becoming really obsessed with these silkscreen stencils. And you can peel that right off and use it again. So I have everything pretty much covered there. And I'm going to peel it off. Look how pretty. That turned out phenomenal. And as I mentioned, I do go over that later with a dry kind of bristle brush. And I just give it some shading. And that's helpful in that it makes that color. I was very happy about that. It makes the color of that pumpkin match a little bit better with those rusty sunflowers that you're going to see on the front of that piece. All right, now I'm going to take my my container, and I'm going to put some felt on the back, as I mentioned before. And I just have a piece of felt there that I picked up at the Dollar Tree. So I'm just going to take a Sharpie, trace around that container, and cut that out and glue it on the back. Now, if you have a container, any kind of container that you have, you could always make it over. And I love doing this either with paint or covering it with some type of fabric. I thought about covering this with, I had a piece of cane. I thought about covering it with that and just painting it underneath because you would be able to obviously see through the cane. But it was pretty stiff, that material of the cane. So I decided to go with something a little more flexible. Now I'm showing you here that I had some pretty creamy colored burlap, which I could have used that, but I'm going to go ahead and go with this idea that I had to take this placemat from Hobby Lobby, and I'm going to cover that container for, kind of a different look, if you will, but it's a nice textured look, and it kind of has a look of a tight basket weave to me. So I decided to cover that container and see how it turned out. It turned out pretty good. I was happy with it. So what I discovered about this placemat is, wow, does it unravel very easily once you cut off the end. I found that out really quick. You're going to see here in just a minute. But I'm going to start by adhering it to the side. Now, I'm showing you here, oh boy, those pieces were coming off like crazy. So I decided, see what I mean? Oh boy. So I decided I better get my hot glue gun out and start gluing, because I was just going to see this process through. I had a vision for this, and I wanted to see if I could get it to come to fruition. And I think it turned out pretty well. Okay, so I put a stream of glue there. Now I'm going to take care of all those frayed edges later on, but right now my goal is to just get this on the piece. Now just remember, if you have an old container and you're not happy with the look of it, think about how you can change it. Sometimes you can give a whole entirely new look to a piece just by painting it. Maybe the first time I did this piece, I did it with adding a baking soda and paint mixture, and I created a textured finish on that piece. Another time I did it, I painted it. I mean, this piece has been made over a few times. I've definitely got my money's worth, but you can find this piece on sale at Hobby Lobby pretty much every other week. So what I'm doing here is now just getting this placemat to adhere to the front of this container. Now I noticed that there's a little bit of a line to that placemat. So what I'm doing here is trying to keep that line straight on the piece. And this piece did have a little bit of flexibility. And I'm not expecting that you're going to, go out and get a placemat and do exactly what I'm doing, but I'm just trying to inspire you to think outside the box on old containers. What could you do with them? How could you change them up, remake them, instead of going out and buying a new one? This holds true very much so for pieces that you get at a thrift store, because you just have to look at the shape of something to determine, if it's worth recreating a finish on it. And oftentimes you can do this for a very minimal cost. So again, I'm just trying to pull that placemat so I can get the lines of that placemat vertically on that piece as straight as possible. But I'm not obsessed with it being perfectly perfect, if you will. I'm just obsessed with trying to get it on this piece right now. So now I'm covering the side. And then I'm going to have some leftover on that placemat. And you see that little triangular area there at the top? Well, I'm going to just piece that. Now, I'm not really concerned that it looks perfect, because it's really not going to show. Those florals are going to hide that altogether, as well as the very back of the inside of that container. Everything is going to be hidden by the massive amount of florals that I put on that piece. Oh, again, this is a great time of year to create beautiful beautiful decor, because the autumn florals that are available between Michael's and Hobby Lobby are just absolutely phenomenal. I mean, you could create the most beautiful pieces for your home, and you have so much variety to choose from. Everything from sunflowers to just dried pods and using pine cones. There's just so much to choose from. All right, so I have everything on there. I finished that little triangular piece at the top, and I have my excelsior in there now. I have my regular moss underneath it. Now, I do want to cover up that handle because, again, that's the metal, and I don't want that to be scratching the door or wall or wherever that's placed. So I'm just going to take a piece of jute cord, a thicker piece, and just wrap it around that handle. Easy as that. All right, so now I've taken a rather ugly looking container and I made it look very attractive and very suitable for a fall decor piece. Now I'm going to create a beautiful bow. You can watch this or forward over it, but I am going to show you the process. Sometimes I forward over, or not forward over, but do a more accelerated bow tutorial and just refer you to my other bow tutorials, or I do it a little bit slower so that you can see the process. And this time I'm doing it a little bit slower. But again, if you've seen it before and you don't want to see it again, just forward over it. So I fold over my loops and I pinch it in the center. I'm going to be creating 3 loops on each side of this beautiful open weave burlap ribbon. I hold my loops tightly in the center with my thumb and my index finger. I'm leaving around 12-inch tails, and the loops on my bow are around 10 inches. I'm going to take a pipe cleaner that matches my ribbon, a half a pipe cleaner, bring it around the back to hold all of those loops secure. Now I have a beautiful 3-loop bow for my base of my bow that's going to go on this piece. And we'll take care of those tails later. Now I'm going to use my buffalo check ribbon. This is a gorgeous ribbon. Really, really beautiful. And as you can see, it goes very well with those sunflowers. So again, I'm going to leave around a 12-inch tail, maybe a little bit longer. I'm going to fold over my loops. Again, the same, I want to say around 9 to 10 inches. Fold over my loops, pinch it in the center. Each time before I fold over my loop, I twist my ribbon. Twist right there, fold it over, pinch it in the center, holding my loops firmly with my thumb and my index finger. Twist my ribbon there, fold over my loops, pinch it in the center. Now I'm going to do 3 loops on each side again. Oops, I'm sorry. I'm doing 2 loops on each side. Sorry about that. And placing 1 single loop a little bit smaller on the top of those 2 loops on each side. Okay, so now I have my single loop on the other side now. And so I have my 2 loops on each side with 1 single loop a little bit smaller resting on the 2 loops. Now I'm going to create a center loop by simply tucking under my ribbon and forming a loop right in the center. I'm showing you that again. I'm going to catch it with my thumb, press it down, gather it up there underneath, and take my pipe cleaner from the back, poke it right through that center loop, bring it around the back and twist it. Now I have my top layer of my bow. So I'm just going to be including 2 different ribbons on this bow. And I'm going to take that tail on the top, poke it right through the center loop, pull it through, and now I have my bow complete. This is a wired ribbon, so it will hold its shape very well. And it has beautiful autumn colors. Now I'm going to take the tails of that ribbon that I just created, or the bow I just created, and I'm going to take those tails, wrap them around the first bow that I made with the open weave burlap, bring it around the back, and I'm going to attach those 2 bows together in the back with the pipe cleaners. Just give it a couple of good twists in the back, and now I have a very pretty bow to place on my autumn decor piece. I'll worry about those tails later once I have it on the piece. Now how I attach that to the piece, I'll show you that in just a bit, but it's going to go on the left side of that piece, and you can see that coordinates very beautifully with the container. Now this is a very tall piece. Okay, so it's going to be very difficult to show you the piece in its entirety within the frame of this video. So what I'm going to do is, as best I can, show you how I created this piece. Now I'm going to use 2 beautiful sunflowers. One of them I'm going to place a little bit off to the right side. The other one is going to be kind of catty corner, if you will, or in an angle from one another, if that makes sense. I'm just going to poke it right in that floral foam. Now I'm going to take these 2 pieces, and I mentioned these at the beginning, that these are going to really fill up that container very well and create kind of a backdrop for all of our florals. Now it has a very long stem, but that's just fine because this piece is, the container is very long. So I just poke that right in the top, one toward the right, and I'm going to do another one toward the left. And this is going to create, like I said, kind of a backdrop for the florals that I'm going to be poking in there. It's going to match as well, very well, with the placemat fabric that I put around that container. Now, so that I can go ahead and create my piece, and because of the size of this bow, I want to be sure that I have that comfortably placed so that I could place my florals around it. So you could take a wooden dowel. I have here a little strip of wood. I think these are like, I forget what you call them, but it's a little strip of wood. I can't remember what you call it. Some kind of shim or something like that. Okay, so I put a dab of glue right on the back of the bow. And I take my pipe cleaners and I twist them tightly around that piece of wood. Now this is going to hold my bow onto the piece. That's just going to be inserted right down into my floral foam. So I put a little bit more glue on there to hold it, pressing it down to let it dry. And I just poked it right down into the floral foam on the left side of my container. Now, as you can see, my tails are going to be trailing down the left side of my container. And this is just a beautiful touch to this piece. Now I'm going to start adding some of my smaller floral elements. And I love these little golden yellow flower stems that I got in, actually got these in the section of Hobby Lobby where they have the florals with the long stems. There's actually, you can find florals in a couple different sections in Hobby Lobby. So just look if you want these particular florals with the golden yellow flowers. They're in this section with the long stemmed florals. Now I'm just going to place some of those yellow flowers, very pretty, around the piece and just kind of balance it out. Now these are lotus pods. These I got at 40% off in the regular floral department at Hobby Lobby. I love to use these, as I mentioned before, in autumn arrangements. I love the texture of them and the natural element that they add to an arrangement. Now, I'm trying to film this from over the top because, as I mentioned, this was difficult to film. This is so long a piece. So I'm showing you from the top. I added some of those rusty flowers over on the right side there. I put in 2 lotus pods, one at different heights. One's a little bit lower on the left side, and then the other one is slightly off to the right and facing forward. They come on wires so that you can bend them. Okay, so now I added some of those chunky berries in there, just a spray of those, and I'm just doing it on the left side. And then I'm going to add some of these smaller berries on the right side. So you see how I balance everything out. You always want balance and symmetry in your arrangements. Now, I want to take some of that same paint that I used for the stem, and I just took kind of a little dry bristly brush, and I'm just going to use a paper towel to dab off any extra paint on my paintbrush. So I'm just very much dry brushing this, as you can see there. But when I do this, it helps to tone down the shade of that orange, and it helps for it to match a little bit better with my sunflowers. So it ended up being like kind of a rusty orange, which is kind of the look I was going for. Now, as I mentioned, you could do this or not do this. I like to hang a little circular piece from the right side of my container when I do an arrangement in these long galvanized metal containers. So I want to add a few of these sunflower leaves to frame the sunflowers. They're a nice kind of a sagey green, and they look very pretty in that arrangement. So I'm just going to put a couple of those leaves in, just some finishing touches now on the piece. I just put a little bit of glue at the base of the leaf, and then I just adhere it right to that sunflower. And you can see that adds a little nice little extra touch to that piece. Okay, so I poked my dowel down inside of my container. I hung my little round pumpkin piece on the right side. And now you can see all of those beautiful florals in that piece. This would be beautiful on a door, a foyer entryway inside your house, or front door, or next to the front door. This is a beautiful, tall, substantial piece. Beautiful for your autumn decor. If you like what you see on my channel, please consider subscribing and give this video a thumbs up. Okay, until next time, you all take care.